Hey, okay, so I wanted to explain the parts of the brain, the three main parts of the brain, that your book was referring to, using my model of the brain. First thing is the big part, this big pink part, it's actually kind of gray, is called the cerebrum. Then the cerebellum, meaning little brain, is this green part that's down here. And then this thing in the middle is your brain stem. And this brain stem connects to the spinal cord. So the two main parts of your central nervous system is the brain and your spinal cord, and parts of your brain, what connects this to your spinal cord is this brain stem. Now I'm going to take these apart so that you can see like this, maybe. You can, oh, here we go. So you can see how I've cut it in half, okay? So your brain stem goes way up into your brain, and then your cerebellum, the little brain, is what tucks up into that. So it's kind of all like woven together. Now, this part, all right here, is called your cerebral cortex. It's the outer part of your cerebrum. That is where all of the neurons are, and the reason that it's all foldy and bumpy is the same reason that your intestines are folded and that your nasal conchae is folded like a twisty turny slide. It creates more surface area for the things to bump into. So in your nasal conchae, it goes back and forth so that there's more surface area for the dust and the particles to get trapped to. In your intestines, it's all twisty and foldy like this because it creates more surface area for absorption of nutrients. For this, it creates more surface area for all of your neurons to exist. So your brain is in charge of everything, and it needs to get out, the messages need to get out to all of your body parts. The neurons are like your mailmen. They are in charge of handling, receiving, and sending the information that your brain is saying. So your brain says, do it. The neuron brings the message to wherever it needs to get sent to. Now, if there aren't enough neurons, let's say you had 5,000 messages, letters you needed to send. How is that going to happen very quickly? With 2 mailmen or 2,000 mailmen? The more mailmen you have, the faster that message can go out or be received. So the same with your neurons. The more neurons you have, the faster those messages can be transmitted. It can go out to the body parts or come back into the brain. So the more neurons you have, the better, which means we need a lot of surface area for the neurons to exist. That's why it creates all of these folds. So I'm going to put my brain back together here and show you that when it's all together, this would be the front part of your brain, like this, right here. And then this is literally in the middle of your head, like in the back, like behind your nose-ish, kind of. And then all of this happens behind like your throat and down in the back of your head. And then your backbone that we've talked about in the past, time out, pause, let me go get my backbone. Okay, I got my backbone. Ta-da! Now this thing we talked about when we were doing the bones, we talked about our backbone. The spinal column, the bone itself is not what we're talking about. That's protecting the spinal cord that's inside. So if I were to tip it like this, you'd notice, let me just take it off of the stand. You'll notice that in here, it's hollow on the inside, and where this metal tube is actually where your spinal column is. So your spinal column is a bunch of nerves, it's a big bundle of nerves that's protected inside your spinal column. So we're not talking about the bones, we're talking about the stuff that's inside there. Now the nerves that come out of it are all these things. And in your book, it talked about the peripheral nervous system and how there's spinal nerves and cranial nerves. The cranial nerves are actually what's represented in red, and these connect to this. Let's see if I can do this. Like that. And then all of these red nerves, so those would be your cranial nerves. Now the yellow ones, which you'll notice are also yellow on the inside underneath of the brain here, the yellow ones come out of your spinal, right here, your brain stem, and they go right down your spinal cord and go down here. So those are your spinal nerves. And then as they stick out of these, so there's 31 on this side and 31 on this side, and that goes out to what's called your peripheral nervous system. So all the stuff that goes out to the rest of your body. Central nervous system is spinal cord. Remember, not the bones, what's inside the bone. It's the bone is hollow, and there's a special set of bundles of cord, kind of like a wire. If you think about what electrical wire looks like, there's the metal wire on the inside, and then there's that protective rubber coating on the outside. The spinal cord is what's inside. The rubber coating of your wire would be the backbone. It's what's protecting it. So this plus this is your central nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is all the things that would connect to these guys and go out so that you can feel in your fingertips, and so that you, when your brain says pick up that pen, you can pitch and pick up the pen. My hands, this won't work unless it's connected to here. So all of these signals, this is in charge, it's connected to here, sends out and keeps going. So central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. I hope that helps.